Okay. Hopefully it'll stay this time. Let's try that again. So, yes, I am so excited to hear about how you think the year is going. Specifically, where you think your strengths are coming through and what you feel you want to really be pushed on, supported in, all in relation to your vision for the classroom. So what do you think?
So I think the year so far is going fine. I think in relation to last year, I'm definitely miles ahead from where I was in mid-October, my first year. I feel a lot more comfortable in the classroom, a lot more comfortable engaging with the students, and of course teaching the content. I think my strengths more this year is I have a much better sense of what it takes to plan and then execute a lesson. And then also, I think really importantly, is also relating to the students.
Yeah.
Because last year I was somewhat terrified coming in, like how am I going to relate to them? How am I going to build those relationships with them? And at the end of last year I realized just how critical those were.
Oh my gosh.
Because consequences and rewards can go so far, but if they like you, they trust you, that just matters so much more.
Yeah.
I think in terms of what I need to improve on, and definitely what I saw in your notes, were the explicit connections to the vision.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you bring that up because that seems so obvious. It's something that should be the top of all your lessons, but I feel like I breeze over it too quickly.
Yeah.
Like it might be a throwaway line. I'd be like, well, this is building towards our class goal of 90%, but I don't think they're making that explicit connection every time they do something.
Right.
And I think it's too much in my head and not in theirs. So I think going forward, that would probably be something I should keep working towards with you.
Yeah.
Either like holding me accountable, making sure that's something that's built in very clearly into each part of my lessons, or something even more exciting that I haven't yet thought of that can really energize them and invest them in what I'm trying to get them to do.
I totally agree with that. Just to kind of speak to what you shared, planning and executing lessons, it's hard work, right? And I strongly believe it takes practice and it takes a commitment, and I can see that you, like throughout last year, you grew in that, and I think your summer kind of just rejuvenated you, and having some experience goes a long way. So what you present this year, I feel it's more meaningful, and I can see that as something that's already improved. One thing that I was reflecting on was how you are intentionally building relationships with your kids this year, and I do feel like there was, I don't know if it was fear or just like something in terms of I don't know how to do it in a way that like feels right and feels me, but that is something that I'm feeling like is happening, and so kudos to you. And in terms of my feedback, I think making the explicit connection to the goal, like you saying that each day, won't get it done.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the very baseline of what you can do to make sure your kids are making that connection. But how are they making the connection? How are you guiding them through that thinking process on a daily basis so that by November, by the end of November, they're telling you, Mr. Davis, we're going to do this today, and this is important because, right, fill in the blank. This is important in relation to your vision and my goal for 4th grade because, and so you can do that in a lot of ways. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of that, I wanted to touch on some of the really strong things I saw in that last classroom observation, and I wanted to bring in your vision because I love your vision this year. I feel like after your world trips, you had just some like euphoric and relaxing moments, and you're like, I'm gonna write a vision for my classroom. And so you have a strong vision in terms of the NSA goal and in terms of how you want them to feel and think and behave in your classroom. Do you feel like it's living in your room right now?
I think parts of it.
Which part?
Parts of it are, I think the reading is the part that's getting to an excellent reading. I guess it's more of the big goals.
Okay.
Is that relevant to talk about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
That's part of the vision.
I definitely think that's coming alive. I'm trying to get them more invested in reading. That's like a big chunk of our day. They're starting to show me they can read on their own. And they're about to submit their first, I guess my first book report project, in which the students, they gave me a chapter book, they have a choice of like doing a book report, a poster, a video, and then they're going to present it. And I don't think that was something that I could have done, or the confidence to do, and also had the expectations to do last year, because I feel like I could have like rolled it out, and then they just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're asking me after school, like, oh, Mr. Davis, can I work with you after school and work my project? I'm like, of course.
Yeah.
So I think that part is on the right track. I think other parts that are not is still the behavior part, because part of the goal was having the behavior 100% done by October, and now in the middle of October it's still like at 80%.
So what do you think? What do you mean specifically by done? Like the behavior is what?
100% compliant 100% of the time.
Got it.
And so that's, I guess that would be the 2 on the TEL rubric, like at least a 2, like they're compliant. And there's still issues there because there's still about 1 or 2 students per class that are causing distractions.
3.
Or 3.
Yeah.
I think 3 is fair, 3 in each class. And so while I think other students are further along and are buying in to what I'm selling, those students are doing enough to distract the entire class.
What do you think is holding you back right now, or holding the class back?
I think that part of the not 100% compliance is inhibiting any sort of real growth in the culture. Because I think you can only do these really spectacular things in which everyone's really energized and excited about school if they feel that it's a classroom where everyone can be equally respected and heard. And they feel like people are just calling names or ignoring the teacher, ignoring them, then I can see why they wouldn't even feel it's necessary to be really energized about what they're doing in class.
Yeah. What you just said to me, I wonder if you could rephrase that for a 4th grader and use that as an opening to the day.
Okay.
And each morning you have some sort of, not even a mantra, maybe it's a mini morning meeting.
Okay.
Where you just kind of frame the day, you frame the feel, you frame a goal around behavior, and you make it concrete. And you tell them why. You know, we've had days where 90% of you have been following directions, on task, working hard, participating, while 10% of you are still struggling to be with us, be on the team, excellent. I don't know, I just feel like what you just said to me felt very genuine, felt very like honest and specific in terms of what's happening, and I wonder how they feel. That's why I want to talk to them next week.
Okay.
But I wonder how, like what they would specifically say about the culture of the class and whether or not student behavior is inhibiting like the progress towards the goal. What do you think they would say right now? I
think they would say that, like you said, in their 4th grade terms, because when I was talking to one of the students he's always compliant, he always says when directions, what I ask him to do is very polite to the students. I can see him visually getting frustrated when other students are talking over him or talking over me, for example.
Yeah.
And speaking to him, like I've asked him once, it was during a lunch with him and some other students, and he's like, I just want to get rid of all the bad kids. So I think they can clearly see the delineation between the few students who are acting up and those who are not, and it's causing them frustration, which kind of makes me disappointed in myself, because that's a very clear problem and solution.
Yeah.
And if they're feeling frustrated because their other students are misbehaving, well, that's the pathway to success right there.
Yeah. Well, what have you done to build relationships with those few who are challenging at times?
Inviting them up to lunch through very targeted rewards. So like any little thing to try and get them to seem like they've earned it. And especially with Raymond Wyatt, done that maybe 4 or 5 times. Then also spending time with them after school. Either inviting them to read or playing with them outside, playing soccer with them. Or to...
Do you think it's had an effect? Do you think it's improved just how you two relate?
I think so, because now I don't think I get much less from those really troubling students, the explicit defiance and disrespect towards me. It's all the indirect disrespect. It's like when another student's bothering them, they see red and I become irrelevant. So it's not like, I don't like you, Mr. Davis, I'm not listening to you. It's like, I'm mad right now and you're inconveniently telling me to sit down.
Right.
So I think it's moved to that stage. So then I guess this working on peer-to-peer relationships.
Peer-to-peer relationships, and like your place in that, right?
Right.
Because this is still your classroom. It's
Mhm.
their classroom, but I mean, you're an important part of that. Okay, well, it sounds like culture. Culture
Yeah.
building is a big thing right now. Like, we want to make sure that when you walk in, when they walk in, when anyone walks in, it's a culture of at least like compliance
Mhm.
and on-task behaviors, at least, right? And the goal is urgent, like passionate,
Right.
and interested, hardworking. I think that's one piece that I want to attack.
Mhm.
I think another piece is the actual like hardline data. So you
Okay.
just submitted your first. Hold on. So I want to pause.